It's evening outside, raining, slushy. In such weather, you can only sit in the room, warm up, and calmly get ready for bed. But Mrs. Elsa uses every second of her time productively. She is busy, and she also has a long-awaited meeting coming up any minute. Her assistant came and said that a special student had just arrived. The girl thought that he had already been brought inside, that he was waiting for her somewhere in the living room. But since the guy had not found himself in this estate of his own free will, he is now at the gate, resisting and asking to let him go, because he was caught somewhere and brought here on Elsa's orders. She has special plans for this person. She doesn't care whether he likes it here or not. And in the meantime, since she is ready to see him, it means that from this moment, the most interesting things begin. As soon as she went outside, she immediately heard his screams. And this is not surprising. Few people like to be detained. He has no idea what is going on, doesn't know these people, is outraged. What right do they have to treat him like this, and regrets that at the moment when they found him, he was completely alone, and there was no one around who could help him. This guy is the heir to the Duchy of Khalid. His name is Lucian von Khalid, and he is about to find out on whose initiative he ended up here. The assistants have a hard time holding the guy back. They apologize to the lady because they plan to calmly take the snapper to the basement, but he resists well. Elsa approaches them very slowly. The girl looks closely, and there is not a single emotion on her face yet. It is difficult to understand what she's going to do with him next. She saw a look on herself that was full of hatred and questions, but it didn't bother her at all, and she didn't care about his status. The lady didn't say a word to him, didn't explain anything. First, she asked him to close the gates because today no one would leave this estate. Lucian became even more angry because he doesn't understand how she dares to keep him here against his will. And so that he wouldn't talk too much, she also asked to make it so that the guy would lose consciousness for a while and not make noise. The assistants immediately carried out her order. And in the meantime, in order not to stand in the rain, she immediately asked to put the guy in a solitary confinement cell. And if she comes up with something else, she will definitely let me know. The girl is so tired all day that it is very difficult for her to come up with something now. In fact, the snapper ended up here for a reason. He won't leave this place for a very long time. It's a matter of several months or even years. And while he is under complete control, Elsa plans to prepare her survival plan. Because this main character is one of those who will one day want to get rid of her. This is the world of a novel called The Most Fragrant Flower Trampled. It describes a dark story in which three main characters experience love for the heroine, bordering on madness. And Elsa became the lover of one of the main characters, Marquis Oppenheimer, who runs the Empire's criminal world. Elsa Leferian is a villain acting on behalf of Marquis Oppenheimer, the owner of the Rosenkreip boarding school. She ruled as truly arrogant and heartless, if her life could be summed up in a few lines. Then it could be described as something like this. She was mocking one of the main characters, Lucian, was obsessed with Marcus Oppenheimer and pretended to be an ordinary sweet girl. And after the Marquis abandoned her, the girl, overcome with jealousy, committed terrible acts against the heroine. No matter how she tries to arrange a happy future for herself, since justice apparently exists in the world of the novel, for all the bad things she did and planned to do, she was destroyed by the three main characters and also abandoned by the Marquis. The girl doesn't want to live like a real Elsa, so that this doesn't happen when the heroine appears and all attention switches to her. The villain will always disappear from us. Disappear as if she never existed. However, if the plot follows the original, despite its conditions, the main characters will try to get rid of it. Therefore, in order to avoid a bad ending, she should, if possible, establish friendly relations with the main characters. She already has a rough plan that she will try to stick to as much as possible. The first step is to win the favor of the main character. Number 1, Lucian, who was dragged into the boarding school today. She gave him some time to calm down and get used to the situation, realized what had happened, and now she came to talk. When the girl turned the key, the guy immediately understood who came to him. Although he wants to hear what she had in mind, at the same time, he is disgusted to hear her voice. It's still very hard to imagine how the girl is going to improve relations with him after she locked him in here. But since she has a plan, she probably thought of everything. As soon as she entered this room, he immediately warned that if she thought that she would survive after the kidnapping of the heir to the Duchy of Khalid, then she was very much mistaken and would still answer for what she had done. He started asking a lot of questions, but for now, she's not going to tell him anything like that. Lucian tries to get out to grab her by the throat and make her be in his place and feel what it's like for him now. Meanwhile, she asked him if he had any idea where he was, and then told him that it was a boarding school, Rosenkreuz. Rosicrucian boarding school, commonly known as the Rose Cross Estate, is a real prison disguised as an educational institution where heirs, illegitimate children, and other hardships of prosperous families are imprisoned for a certain period of time. The reason why the main character, Lucian, ended up here is simple. After the early death of the previous Duke and Duchess of the Khalid family, Lucian's cousin became the acting head of the house. He took custody of Lucian until he came of age, but eventually betrayed Lucian and helped lock him in this place. That's why in the original, Elsa treated Lucian like a toy, mocked him in every possible way, and not only all this lasted until he awakened in himself a special power that was passed down only through the direct line of the Duke's family, and ended up being the first one to escape from that place, which is why she needs the snapper more. Her current lover and the actual owner of this boarding school, Marquis Dante. With his violent temper, he would never let her go so easily, especially since as the manager. Elsa knows all the secrets of this place. It turns out that she only pretends to everyone that she is still a villain. But in reality, she wants to team up with the guy and escape from here together. Meanwhile, she says that for his information, the fact that he is here is a secret, known only to a very small circle of people, which means that his arrival was carried out with extreme caution. The guy can't believe that someone could do this to him. He thought that his brother wasn't capable of such a thing, but this is how it happens. The girl understands that for an 18-year-old who has just reached this age, betrayal by someone he trusted must be an extremely difficult blow. Says that since this is a Rosenkreuz dormitory, then she must be Lady Litherian. So he finally recognized her, because as the Marquis's lover and the infamous villain of the dorm, it should have been pretty obvious, but there's one more thing he hardly knows. She told him that he understood everything correctly, and then admitted that although he might think that she was his enemy, in fact, this was not the case, and they were now on the same side. The girl explained that she would also be trying to survive now, so they should unite and trust each other, no matter how strange it might sound now. That look of his said it all. She saw complete disbelief. Maybe it was a normal reaction, but no matter how hard it was for him to believe it, he would have to, and so that he would be absolutely sure of her words and could even check it. Elsa told him that inside this boarding school, all the traps left by Dante would hurt him, even after he awakened his powers and escaped. But she knows them all, and will ultimately help him escape completely safely, even if these words now seem funny to him. She wants him to quickly be convinced that everything she told him is the pure truth, and that she is the only person around whom he can trust. After that, she left him alone so that the guy could think it over, and she went out into the corridor, and just at that moment she met someone. This is Victor, the director of the boarding school, who is never in a good mood and constantly scares her with just one look. He holds the same position as Elsa, but because of his inferiority complex like a normal person, he also bullies her to boost his self-esteem. In the original story, he was the one who exploited Elsa's weakness, her fear of Dante's disapproval, threatening her by saying he would report everything to Dante if she crossed the line. Meanwhile, he begins to ask her to at least sit still today if she has even a drop of conscience. He didn't like that she met the young Duke of Khalid without his permission and now wants to ask what she was thinking about. Usually she would somehow justify herself to him, try to smooth out all the rough edges. But now she has no such desire. Elsa replied that his words sounded a little strange, because one of the manager's tasks is to monitor special students, so she doesn't quite understand why she needs his permission, because he is not more important than her. Victor thought for a long time what to answer to this, and then said that she misunderstood him, and the issue was not in the resolution itself. He feels like this is not something she can decide on her own, without his knowledge, and she doesn't agree with him. He thought that the girl would now start making excuses, apologize, and promise not to do it again. But from that day on, everything would be different. She told him directly that she was tired of this attitude. She wanted to feel equal and asked to be allowed to earn money for food and peace, and also asked if there was a problem with this. He began to get indignant and tried to explain that this was a completely different matter because the Duke of Khalid was a special student. Special student in the Rosicrucian dormitory. It is these students who are treated with special attention if information about such a student becomes known to the world. This could lead to large-scale consequences. These students are closely monitored under strict control. He must be afraid because he doesn't want to lose such a high position, and this is very clearly visible, especially since the girl knows him too well. And then she decided to talk to him the way she felt. The girl laughed at first, and then said that if he had been sitting in this boarding school for so long, it didn't mean that he could consider himself someone significant here. and also hinted that if he didn't like the way she was doing her job as a manager so much and wanted to go and complain about it, then it didn't scare her. The man had never heard anything like this from her. It had been very easy with her before, but now it was as if his colleague had been replaced. He looks shocked. Maybe it's her attitude or the fact that she called Dante a marquise. Apparently it sounded a little strange coming from her lips. Elsa from the original flaunted her relationship with Dante, and she also really liked to call him by his name. But the girl is not a real Elsa, as she plans to avoid. She does not need such excessive honors. The next day came. The guy was still sitting in one place because they didn't even let him lie down on the bed. Elsa came to him early in the morning and asked how he was feeling, although it was obvious that he hadn't even gotten enough sleep. After yesterday's conversation, he clearly thought about it, and now at least he doesn't react to her as aggressively as he did then. The girl is sure that he could at least try to understand the meaning of what she said yesterday, because in his position, her offer is the only chance to leave here to freedom. This time, she is very respectful towards him, even apologizing for disturbing him and asking if he minds if she helps him undress. A second later, he looked at her with a look that said, "This girl has gone crazy. What's happening to her?" Elsa heard that he was rolling on the floor yesterday while they were trying to calm him down, so if he's in any pain, she'll be happy to help. He didn't say anything to this either. The Duke was silent, as if he was going to hear only one thing. What kind of circus is this? She still tries to smile at him. She treats him very politely, although in his place, she would not be so silent. At the very least, the girl is going to change his clothes, because she knows from experience how unpleasant it is to wear the same clothes for 2 days. Yesterday it looked like he was putting up a little resistance, but in reality he has a lot of scratches that probably rub a lot under his clothes. The wounds are very serious. It hurts her to look at it. She wants to take and treat them, but at the same time it is important to remain polite. She calmly approached to take a closer look, and he began to get indignant and asked what she was allowing herself to do. He was so twitching that he pushed her and the whole first aid kit scattered across the floor. It was a bit humiliating. Now it all depends on how she reacts to it. He is not shy about telling her to leave him alone. The guy is one of those people who can tolerate someone touching him without his permission. Elsa was expecting just that. It is clear that he will not let down his guard so quickly, especially in the first days. She doesn't intend to leave him, so in order to distract the Duke, she began to tell him that she doesn't like men younger than her, and he's not her type, and at this time he doesn't quite understand what this has to do with it. Then he calmed down and asked what it meant and why she even talked about it, because he didn't even say a single word to her. The girl replied that she meant that she had no bad intentions and she would just quickly check his wound, so it would be better for him not to move now. Otherwise, she might accidentally prick him with scissors and it will only get worse for him. And in the end, it will only ruin the whole mood. Elsa began to feel that he was not resisting so much anymore. The guy was not even moving, as if he had resigned himself and allowed her to do whatever she wanted, just so that she would leave quickly. It all happened very quickly. She treated the wound, put a new shirt on him, and now he can be free. After that, the girl wished him a good day, although she understands that in this situation such a phrase may be inappropriate. And she also reminded him that her offer still stood, and as soon as he was ready to discuss it, he should just let me know. He looked at her with a neutral gaze as usual, pretended that he was not interested, and then stopped looking at her altogether. So she understood that the Duke was not yet ready for this conversation. Maybe he needed more information. She would not have trusted such promises in his place either. After Elsa left, he began to remember what he knew about them. There were enough rumors about the girl, and he still didn't know what she was really like. He had heard that she was acting arrogantly, relying on the Marcus's support, but so far he hadn't noticed anything like that, if you don't count their first meeting at the gate. Something inside him tells him that he can trust her, but common sense tells him exactly the opposite, that he shouldn't do it. It even seemed to him that he had become too soft, because lately he had been trying to see the good in people, even if there was nothing like that in reality. Only in this place, the Rosenkreutz boarding school, a simple act of kindness from a humble caretaker shook her to the core. Suddenly, he remembered that when she left the room, he did not hear the click of the door lock, and then he thought that it could not be that she really left the door open. Lucian turned his back to the door, turned the door handle, and realized that the door was open. This seemed like a hint that Elsa did not wish him harm and thus showed that he should trust her. At that moment, the guy just couldn't believe his eyes. This is the real proof that she wants to help him. But in any case, now it is much more important for him to find out whether his brother really betrayed him, because if so, his meaning of life will be revenge. And in the meantime, he has some strange feeling. Right now, he can easily break these chains with his own hands, but he can't decide and doesn't understand why he hesitates. There can be only one explanation for this. Somewhere deep down, the guy may be afraid that if he runs away, the girl will get into trouble. At that very second, he had the thought that he needed to pull himself together and not think about the woman he hardly knew. And he also tried with all his might to concentrate on running away. Meanwhile, although he is still thinking about it, in reality the girl is in control. She stands calmly and looks out the window in her room. And I think that quite a lot of time has passed and Lucian should have already tried to escape, but she gave him a great opportunity by leaving the door open. The Duke didn't think for long. He still tried to escape, but as the girl had warned him, he didn't succeed. They grabbed him right away, threw him on the floor and warned him that if they caught him next time, he wouldn't do it easily. Lucian regretted not listening to Elsa, but if they had united, he would at least have had a chance to get around the traps. The girl found out that he was caught, and immediately came in front of her colleagues to pretend that she was going to punish him. Although in fact, as soon as they are alone, she will talk to him the same way as before and will probably offer the same thing again. So far, everything is going exactly according to her plan. Since he hasn't awakened his power yet, he hasn't even been able to leave the walls of the academy. She knew better than anyone that Lucian would try to escape. And yet, she deliberately left the door open so that he would understand in advance that it was impossible to escape without her help. From now on, until the Duke awakens his power, she needs to become his ally. Only then, as she planned, they can escape from this hell together. Judging by the fact that Victor came, he also found out about Lucian's escape. And, as usual, he probably won't miss the opportunity to say that she's failing to fulfill her duties again. He started to say that he was told that Elsa was the last one to visit the Duke's solitary confinement cell. He also pretended that he was worried that the information was spreading too quickly. And he also apologized for being rude. But it turns out that I am not coping with my duties, and he couldn't help but say it. It was expected that he would start to mock and enjoy her mistake, but it was a mistake only for him, and it's good that he thinks so. She asked him if he had come by chance just to scold her, since, as she noticed, this was already his hobby. Victor replied that no, he would never do that, and he also just wanted to tell her to be careful. Before leaving, he also wanted to warn that he would now be responsible for a special student, and it seemed to him that there should be no objections in this matter. Elsa turned him down right away because she was the one who let him go, so she's the one who should sort this out, but definitely not Victor. After that, she didn't even want to listen to him. She said that she was very tired and asked him to take this Duke and follow her. Victor did not agree. He wants to defend his position, so he asked her to stay for a couple of minutes. After that, he apologized that he had to support her, but this situation had gone too far, and he thought they should tell Marquis Oppenheimer about it. And here again, the same threat from his side. Of course, the real one would beg him not to do this. This is what the man is counting on. Dante played with her like a cheap toy because Elsa's desperate affection amused him. And for the girl, he was almost a god who saved her from a hellish life. Only the thing is that she is no longer the Elsa they know. She never loved Dante for a second, so she can boldly tell Victor that he can do whatever he wants. She's not going to beg him not to do it. Victor can complain about her at least several times a day. She also recalled that initially the Marquis had not expected anything from her as a manager, which means that such threats no longer work on her. So if he wants to really scare her, he'd better come up with something else. She politely hinted to him that he could now leave because she was no longer interested in spending her time on him. For the sake of credibility, the whole time the girl acted as if she didn't care about the Duke, and she also tried to restrain herself when he was beaten so that he wouldn't resist. If you don't think about it, she's very worried that Victor is becoming more and more bold, and things won't work out that way. No matter how hard she tries to prove herself, the servants take their cue from Victor, who has real power. If she wants Snapper's escape to go smoothly, she can't leave Victor unattended. Before the Marquis returns, she needs to seize power by any means necessary. It's not an easy task, but since it's about freedom, she'll have to work for two, and if necessary, even at night. Meanwhile, as she had requested, the Duke was brought into the room, and while they were not alone here, she had to speak in the appropriate tone. Elsa says that since this man has done wrong, he deserves to receive an appropriate punishment. Under the guise that she was going to punish him, the lady asked everyone else to leave the room, as if they didn't have to watch it. Some were interested to see what she came up with, but there was no way she would stay. Elsa made sure that no one was eavesdropping on them, and began to talk to the guy normally and explain that she really was his last chance to return to his previous life. He should have already understood that they wouldn't succeed separately, but if they united, there would be a huge chance to get out of here together. Just in case he still didn't get it, she had to explain that it didn't matter how much he fought. The young Duke alone will not be able to escape from here, because if you look from the outside, even now he is in solitary confinement, tied up like... However, either he will believe her and will grab the only chance to save himself, or over time he will be completely crushed and then she will definitely not be able to help him. She gives him one last chance to agree. Otherwise, if it turns out that for the sake of freedom she will have to set him up, she will do it. Elsa advises you to think very carefully before refusing, because her offer is only valid today. Even though she speaks to him so boldly, she understands that if she has to persuade him for another week, she will still do it. And now we have to intimidate him so that he somehow agrees faster, because the faster this happens, the sooner they will leave here. More than the question of why he is stuck in such a place or doubts about something so important. What drives him most crazy is whether he will grab onto this thread or be trampled like trash. It is very difficult to make the right decision when one conscious part of him says that he needs to take her by the hand and trust her, and the other resists, reminding him how unfair this world is and that trusting someone is a big risk. He is also very interested to know the reason why she does not run away from here herself and offers him to unite. Even from the way she talks to others, it's clear that she's in control, and sometimes he wants to immediately answer that he agrees to be on the same side. But then the thought immediately appears that it can't be that easy. She offers to do almost everything herself, and he just needs to agree. It can't be like that. He still feels disgusted to realize that he's suddenly lost control of his life, and he has no guarantee that he will ever be let go from here just like that. Being the heir of the House of Khalid, he is so ashamed to be here that it is impossible to describe in words. Meanwhile, Mr. Dante's assistant unexpectedly came to tell him some unpleasant news. He really doesn't want to say it, but he has a small report that concerns the Rosencreutz Academy. The gentleman allowed him to report, and the assistant began to tell that due to Lady Elsa's mistake, the special student tried to escape, and also, as they say, there was a conflict between Victor and Lady Elsa about this. The gentleman explained more than once that the Duke needed special care, and since this was not the girl's first mistake, it seemed to him that it would be easier to just get rid of her. So that the guy wouldn't jump to conclusions, the assistant added that there was something else strange. He heard that Lady Elsa had started to behave differently. She should have been desperately looking for the gentleman, but the girl was not looking for him at all, and even Victor's threat to report this to the gentleman did not alarm her at all. The guy doesn't believe that this person can behave like this. He became interested in checking if this is really true, but he doesn't know how to do it yet. A woman who seemed to be made of roses and honey, who tasted sweet. The way she clung to him so desperately for so long seemed funny to him, which is why he relegated her to the humble role of a mistress. But the less she doubted love, the less she was different from other women, and in fact, he was tired of it. It was just recently. And now Elsa has suddenly become different, and it is very unusual for him to hear about it. This news did not leave him indifferent. He clearly understands that he needs to see everything for himself. Dante de Savi Oppenheimer, having captured the dark side of the Ardian system, he received the title of Marquis by his own power. He stayed by his side, helped him in everything. But his manner of not trusting anyone and not loving anyone was always stifling. The guy hopes that Lady Elsa won't become another of Dante's toys, although everything seems to be heading that way. Meanwhile, the next day began. Elsa's assistant knocked on the door. She always comes to her at the same time, to make a morning report and say that the student of Khalid had already been served breakfast, but he refused to eat. No one knows what exactly he is not happy with. He doesn't even talk about his preferences, and no matter what they give him, he still doesn't eat anything. After escaping, the girl was afraid that trying to conquer Lucian directly would be too obvious, so she entrusted his care to her servants. She asked to cook a new dish, and this time she will probably have to take it to him herself. The girl thought that she probably wouldn't let anyone near her. It's natural, but you can't torture yourself like that and starve yourself. Something inside prevents him from telling her such words. No matter how lost and broken he is, he will find a wonderful strength within himself and will return his home. And the heroine will heal his mental wounds. His survival is guaranteed, but only on the condition that they try for this together. Without him, she will be mercilessly sacrificed so that he can shine, and her perfect escape plan will be ruined. In the end, she will die. She had already come to his room to ask how long he would starve himself, but he was being somewhat uncommunicative today. The girl explains that if he doesn't eat like this for a few more days, he won't last long, and in general, he risks dying, especially considering all the stress around him. He reacted strangely and also asked why she even cared what happened to him. But then he realized that she was most likely asking about it only because of her duties as a manager. He knows that if something happens to him, she will have problems, and this will directly affect her relationship with the Marquise. After that, she had no more words left. It was much harder to find an approach to him than she thought. During this time, he clearly did not become kinder to her. And in the meantime, Victor has serious problems. He came to the office, and for several hours now, he can't find... Oh, what a letter! He dug through everything he could, but it's nowhere to be found. It's as if it dissolved. The man clearly remembers that he left it on his desk and does not understand where it could have gone during this time. He started to get very nervous because it was very serious. The letter was the most important piece of evidence revealing the truth about the hostel. The problem is that if the Marquis finds out that he lost it, he simply won't escape severe punishment, that's for sure. Then he stopped, calmed down, thought, and had a brilliant idea. This is the way out of the situation that he usually uses. He decided why not, as usual, blame everything on his colleague, Elsa, and present everything as if it was all her fault, even if it wasn't so. Died and imagined that he would spread rumors among the servants, then immediately report everything to the Marquise, because he was sure that the master would still believe him and not hurt her. Meanwhile, Elsa decided to take a rest, but as usual, she can't do it. Victor came to her, and she already feels that he won't tell her anything good. To begin with, she asked him how he could show such disrespect. She didn't invite him, and he just walked in without warning, and he knows how much she doesn't like it. Without explaining anything, he immediately accuses her of stealing the letter, as if he wants her to get used to it and accept the fact that he will complain about this. In fact, she was prepared for this. An important letter entrusted to him by the Marquis has disappeared, and as in the original, he is again going to blame everything on his colleague, although he knows that she cannot be involved in this. The girl asks if he really wants to say that he suspects her of this matter, even without any evidence. The thing is that this time, although he doesn't realize it, he is absolutely right, in fact. It was she who took the letter, and now she is pretending as if it is impossible. This is also part of her plan so that no one can wipe their feet on her anymore, as it was in the original story. The only difference is that in the original, the girl begged him not to tell the gentleman about this situation. But now he is perplexed because Elsa is absolutely calm, and it seems like she doesn't care about it. Victor really doesn't recognize Elsa, with whom he has worked for many years, but he doesn't intend to ask her directly what happened to her. He is sure that something has changed, but he does not yet understand what exactly and at what moment it happened. And in the meantime, so that he doesn't think that it's so easy to come and accuse her of something, she tells him that he couldn't even look after one letter that was entrusted to him, and it's very low of him to try to blame everything on her. Then she reminded him of the story of the student's escape, namely how he tried to control everything and give orders, also his usual behavior, which changed. She had only one question for all of this. Doesn't it seem to him that some of them think too much of themselves? Finally, the girl wants to tell him only one thing, that in future he should control himself and behave decently, and also so that he doesn't forget what a difference there is between them. He is an ordinary person who cannot afford more than she does. Meanwhile, since the guy's hands were already untied, he decided to read some book to save time. At some point, two maids slowly walked past the room, but I accidentally overheard their conversation. One asks the other if she heard how this morning Victor and Elsa had a big fight, although before this happened very rarely, and not over trifles. The girl heard Victor say that Elsa stole some important letter. Sounds like a serious accusation. Lucian immediately understood what letter was being discussed. He even closed the book to think about it. The guy wondered if she had gone too far because of him. Because if that was the case, she could have said something to him. It is unclear to him why she stood so calmly and did not stop him when he tore that very letter into pieces. He had just thought about her when the girl suddenly came into his room and brought him some light soup so that he could have at least something to eat. He doesn't even know how to react to her, ask questions, or ignore her, as he usually did. Meanwhile, she tells him that at what time regular food can be too heavy for him, especially after such a long fast. She decided to bring soup and insistently asked him to eat at least a couple of spoons. She thought that he would now say that he was no good and that it had just been much better here without her, but the guy, he rolled around a little to hint that he wanted to tell her something, then admitted that he had a question, and then reminded her that she said she was helping him because she wanted to live. Now he wants to know why she said that then, and what it means, because so far he has heard about everything in general terms and does not fully understand what is what. All the time he hears from people that Marquis Oppenheimer is extremely dangerous in every sense of the word. And they also say that the girl will stay in Rosen because she is madly in love with him, and cannot imagine her future without this man. Suddenly, the girl felt some feelings, and she is not sure that Elsa in the original story experienced something similar. And did she really love Dante so much that even hearing his name made her excited? The guy always saw her as just a toy. Nothing more, nothing less. Later, he would fall in love with the heroine from the original story to such an extent that he was ready to die for her. But all the previous women were just there to fill his emotional void. Nothing more than a mild curiosity and a source of entertainment. He didn't even care about the death of Elsa, who loved him just as much as he fell in love with the main character. Perhaps the girl simply succumbed to Elsa's past emotions, but she is confident that she can overcome them. She replied to the Duke that she had once thought the same, but now she realized that he had never loved her or any other women, and had kept them by his side only because they were all convenient. Even though the girl is no longer Elsa from the original, she will do everything to change the ending, and apparently it's time to say so. The softness in his voice, the trust she gained from Baron Craig's letter, and the fact that he treated her not as a villain but as a human being. With that level of trust, he could stand by her side. In the meantime, she decided to be frank with him once again said that she wanted to run away from here just as much as he wanted to. But the moment she comes out as the manager, they will probably try to destroy her in order to keep the secret. That's why she wants to become allies with him, if she can protect and help him. Then she would like to ask him to do the same. No matter how sincerely she talks about it now, of course, it could all be a lie. Unfortunately, there is no other way. As soon as Elsa escapes, she will break all ties with the main characters and disappear. And in the meantime, she tells him that if he trusts her even a little, she first offers him a snack. And the girl also warned him that she wouldn't be here tomorrow, so she asked him in advance to promise that when she wasn't watching, he would at least eat something, at least. After that, she wished him a pleasant appetite and said that it was time for her to leave, so she would leave him alone and would not distract him. Suddenly, he lightly grabbed her by the clothes and asked her to stop, as if he wanted to say something, and now this is interesting. Lucian really wants to know why she won't be here tomorrow and where she's going to go, as if she's afraid to stay here alone. The girl replied that she was just going away on business, and she also wanted a change of scenery for half a day. She said it was a change of mind, but in reality she'll be very busy tomorrow. She needs to somehow dispel Victor's suspicions and play the role of a gorgeous villain, because she has to meet the third main character. But she can't tell the Duke about it. And if he is so interested in it, then she can bring him something, for example, snacks or something like that, to which he asked if, in her opinion, he looked like a child who wanted to ask for sweets in this way. From the outside, he looks kind of strange. It even seemed to her that he was sulking because she was going without him. Although the Duke could also be understood, he sits in a solitary confinement cell all day, and here she is telling something about a change of scenery. It goes without saying that this must be very annoying to him, so she said that she would return as soon as she could and would try not to be late. He responded that she could do whatever she wanted. It was none of his business anyway, and began to finish his soup. Meanwhile, Dante is resting after a hard day at work. A hot bath has been drawn for him. This is exactly what he has been dreaming about since the morning. He melted the body so well that you don't want to leave here. Obsessive thoughts start to leave your head, when suddenly, an assistant comes and again says something about some news. This time the guy came to tell that they say that Lady Elsa stole the Baron's letter that Victor had Literally a minute ago, the gentleman was sure that he had already finished his work today and was not going to listen to anything like that. Eventually, he got up from the bathroom and started asking if there was any more information and how sure the assistant was that Elsa had anything to do with this. The guy said that as far as he knows, Victor personally scolded Elsa. And as a result, there was a small commotion in the boarding school. Dante tries to imagine how it really was. Now he is even more interested in seeing this girl. Judging by the stories, she started to allow herself too much. That's true, of course, but everything he's heard lately is all a lie, made up by Victor. And it would be a shame if Dante started to treat the girl worse because of this. She didn't really do anything bad, but there are already such rumors about her that after this, she risks being seriously punished. In fact, the gentleman is more interested not in the fact that she could steal the letter, but in the fact that some person dared to raise his voice to his mistress. Because for him, it is absolutely unacceptable. And even if it turned out that the girl really stole something, he would still be more angry at the one who yelled at her. The guy started to think about what to do with this now, but he is not going to leave this situation without interventions. The Marquis hates those who don't know their place most of all, and there have been plenty of such cases over the years. Most likely, the gentleman is angry now, not because of concern for Elsa, but because of the thought that Victor challenged the authority of the Marquise. Moreover, Craig's letter is an extremely important thing that can reveal the true nature of the hostel. Victor was entrusted with this letter not because he is a reliable subordinate, but to lure him into a trap. Meanwhile, the next day came. Victor found out that Elsa had left, asked the assistant where she would be all day, and she said that the lady was going to go to the boutique because she had been complaining for a long time that she was tired of her clothes and had thrown everything away. Specifically, to definitely buy something new. And the assistant helped and suggested which outfits she found the least. And accordingly, they needed to be thrown out first. The man remembered that the other day she called a jeweler, and today clothes. Everything happens as he thought. The assistant also said that she had recently received a letter from the Marquise, and if the gentleman wanted, he could read it right now. He praised his assistant for reporting to him about all of Elsa's movements, and today, he even decided to pay her a small bonus. She left happy, wished him a good day, and he began to carefully open the letter because there could be anything in it. He can't wait to open the letter, but at the same time, he understands that there is a chance that he won't like something in it. But perhaps after he reported to the Marquis what Elsa did recently, he will ask to get rid of her. In the end, instead of saying that she needed to be punished, the Marquis reminded her that the girl had always been like that. Supposedly nothing special had happened, and asked only to remind her to be more careful next time. It is outrageous to him that the master lets her get away with the theft so easily. Now Victor doesn't understand how else to fight her. Too much time has already been lost. If he doesn't get her out of the way, he simply won't have access to the book that reveals the secrets of the academy. Then he thought that no matter how much Elsa liked the Marquis and what kind of relationship they had, he would not let her get away with the attack on the student. Meanwhile, the girl's day off is just beginning. She has finally left for the city. Here she will be able to have a good time and get away from everything. She decided to first go to one incredible place. It was right on the way, and of course the girl couldn't pass by. Even when the girl was on the street, she even there smelled the amazing aroma of baked goods, which literally attracts all passers-by. She was met by a polite consultant. He said that he was glad to see her and asked how he could help, that they had a special day today. They give a discount to the first 3 customers, and she was already the second. Of course, this is great news, and since it is so, she decided to order a cherry pie without hesitation. Unfortunately, at the moment they don't have cherry pie in stock, but instead they can offer whipped cream pie, which is also very popular and no worse. It may seem like a meaningless conversation between a consultant and a customer, but things are not quite as they seem at first glance. The mention of whipped cream and cherry pie is a secret password, and in the meantime, the guy asks her to follow him. They came to some office. He apologized in advance that it was not cleaned. It's just that no one thought that she would come today. Then the guy asked what brought her here so early, but before answering this question, she is forced to ask something. The girl says that before she tells him anything, there must be mutual trust between them. In fact, the reason why this place is special is because this place is home to the Empire's top trade lord and the third main character of this world, and he's right in front of her right now. As soon as the guy heard her words about trust, he immediately understood what she meant and stopped pretending to be an ordinary consultant. He twisted his ring, turned into another person, and then asked how she knew it was him. Benedict Lundberg, an incredible inventor who, by founding the Schmeichel Company and taking control of the Empire's distribution, elevated the poor Lundberg family to the upper echelons of the Empire. Using the information he got through the company, he also runs this place, the House of Famers, which ordinary people know as the best bakery shop, and also in that very ring that he twirled before he turned into himself. There is a magic stone. This magical relic from ancient times is not only extremely rare, but also cannot be activated without magical powers. Only someone at the level of the main characters of this world can use it. Since the girl had already managed to gain Lucian's trust a little, it was now Benedict's turn. Elsa had to win his favor by any means possible, and in the meantime, when asked what brought her here, she asked if it wouldn't be less interesting if she told him everything right away. The way she chose for this man, she had to interest him, so she said that if he would allow her to get the information, then she would tell him everything. Naturally, she wouldn't mind paying a good price for it. As much as he said, the guy almost didn't listen to her phrase to the end. He replied that unfortunately, their guild does not participate in one-sided information tradings. He also said that he was very sorry that she had come all this way in vain, but these words did not frighten the girl, because as she thought, it won't be easy with him. If the direct approach doesn't work, maybe she should use the original story. In that case, she offers him a bet. And since he is the kind of person who is easily interested, she has no doubt that this method will work. To begin with, she asked if she understood correctly that he was planning to invest money in the western territory of Romdeo. And since this information is only available to a few people, and he knows each of them, it was a great surprise to him that she would tell him this. Benedict, also known as the Golden Arm, suffered one setback, namely the conflict between his half-siblings and his half-brother and sister Romdeo, the first daughter and current ruler, Lady Romdeo, the 10-year-old young Lord Romdeo, supported by his supporters. In the original, Benedict took advantage of the turmoil in the political situation caused by their conflict for the throne. He invested in the young Lord Romdeo, but Lady Romdeo won, and he was unable to recoup his investment. It's top secret, so he's obviously surprised that she knows anything about it, and to interest him even more, she asks him if he believes the young gentleman is capable of winning. Then she also said that it seemed to her that the banner of victory was flying in the direction of Lady Romdeo, and if he was interested in talking about it, then she could break up and agree that the two of them would be useful to each other. At that moment, the guy thought that perhaps she could have heard something from the Marquis. But even if so, he does not fully understand what the meaning of this conversation is, and whether she would really give up such important information in exchange for another. If the girl tells the truth, she can save him from big losses. Now he is even more interested to know what else she knows. Meanwhile, when he asked if she was saying that he should invest in Lady Romdeo, she answered him that it was not so, and it seemed to her that he misunderstood her, and it was after these words that the guy became completely confused. It's very clear from his reaction that he has too many questions, especially after he thought he understood her. But it turned out to be the opposite. Then she began to say that the young master's maternal family was powerful, and asked him to confirm these words, to which he said that everything was correct. After that, she hinted that for the smooth operation of the guild, Schmeichel important relations with the nobility in each territory. It seems like the guy is starting to understand something. He thought about it and then asked if he understood her correctly. The girl replied that she didn't know, which he understood. But in short, it was better not to interfere in the fight for the throne at all. He understands that there is logic in her words, but he is interested in what if Lady Romdeo does not win. What should he do in that case? She told him that if he lost the expected profit from Romdeo, she was ready to reimburse him the entire amount down to the last penny. First, he asked her if she had any idea how much he had invested, and then he apologized because he had to say that he didn't believe she had the funds to cover his losses if they happened. Elsa herself understands this perfectly well, so she did not hide the fact that she, of course, does not have that kind of money. But her fiancé has such an amount, and if needed, she can calmly ask for it and is sure that he will not refuse her. She also said that if she had that much to lose, the Marquis would have turned her down, but the fact that she was willing to do so shows how serious she was about this bet. And yet, Benedict is very curious to know what information she's so desperate to get that she is willing to go so far. Elsa explained that there is one person named Victor on the Rosicrucian internet, and she wants to know about his activities on the Forbidden Market, and preferably in detail, as much as possible and faster than anyone else. Just the guy should have heard about this person, and Elsa is sure that no one else will be able to help her the way Benedict will do. And in the meantime, when everyone understands perfectly well what is needed from whom, in order not to waste time, the girl asks what he has decided, and, surprisingly, he says that he still agrees to cooperate with her. The conversation was very meaningful. Eliza thanked him for it, and since she achieved her goal, now she can calmly leave. Suddenly, he reminded her that she ordered cherry and offered to take it with her, to which the girl asked, "Didn't he say that such a pie was not available?" It turns out that for regular visitors it really isn't available, but for her, everything is available, especially since now he knows that she is a valuable client worth investing in. This raised her spirits even more. This day started off great, and it remains to be hoped that it will end like this. The girl is in complete harmony with herself. Everything is happening exactly as she planned, and she is very happy about it. She believes that with this person they can be useful to each other, because it simply cannot be otherwise. She feels that he is being completely honest with her, so it is absolutely mutual. And in the meantime, it is time to say goodbye. After all, there is a whole day ahead. And if she can do something useful, that will be great, at the very least. She has shopping planned and it is already lunchtime, so she can stop somewhere in a cafe, enjoy a cherry pie and hot tea there. When the mother of the Lutheran family died, under pressure from her father and his mistress, she was almost sold to the old count. But by a lucky chance, she managed to take the place of the mistress of the Marquis Oppenheimer. Everyone thought of her only as an evil woman, notorious for her arrogant and impudent actions. Benedict was one of these people. The girl in front of him had exceptional judgment and a sharp mind, which was different from how he thought of her before. It even seemed to him that perhaps he had not seen the catch and could have missed something in her that would explain why she was like that. The gentleman called his assistant. He came literally a second later, asked how he could help, and the assistant asked him to fulfill one request, namely, a cherry pie. Benedict also wanted to take a closer look at her, but could it be that she interested him not only as an ally but also as a girl? Meanwhile, she's walking around and thinking that after a successful deal with Benedict, she now needs to go back to the academy and check on Lucian. Recently, she asked the coachman to wait for her at the fountain, but he is not even close, as if he forgot about it or wants to play a joke. She doesn't really have any options. She can only wait for him here, in this place where they met before she left. Suddenly, the man went about his business. Maybe it was something urgent. At that moment, she accidentally looked at people in one establishment through the window, and she had very mixed feelings. She really enjoys looking at people who are just relaxing and living their quiet lives, not trying to save themselves, run away from someone, make whole conspiracies and plans. She wants to believe that someday she will also be eating ice cream as carefree as all these people. It will be very soon, but it is never too late to believe and dream that one day this moment will come. Suddenly, the boy she noticed, by some amazing coincidence, ran towards her to his friends and accidentally, he crashed into her and smeared his ice cream all over her dress. He was lucky that the girl was very kind and, like many would have done, did not hate him and yell at him from the top of her lungs. Instead, Elsa asked if he was okay. She felt more sorry for the boy who might be scared and feel awkward than for her dress. He immediately started apologizing. He was very sorry that the dress was ruined, and also by colored ice cream, which would be difficult to wash off. The girl answered him that everything was fine. It was all nonsense. The main thing was that it didn't ruin his day. After that, she told him that there was a shop nearby with good ice cream, gave him some money, and offered to buy him any ice cream he liked. The boy didn't think that there were such kind adults. Before that, he was ready to embarrass himself, make excuses, and they still gave him money for ice cream. He told her that she was a very good person, and it would be great if everyone were like her. And the boy also said that she had a very nice smile, but the girl reacted somehow strangely. She didn't say anything to him, but she thought to herself that if you think about it, since she became Elsa, this is the first time she smiles at people like that. If she ever finally escapes Rosen, maybe opening a cafe wouldn't be such a bad idea. If a girl lives like this, maybe one day she too can be part of the same scene that she envied, watching from the sidelines. Meanwhile, the assistant arrives. He apologized for keeping her waiting, but her silence made him wary. The man decided to deal with this later, but for now he said that they had a problem with a special student. He told her about it very quietly so that no one else would hear. And after that, she decided to immediately go back to him. And in the meantime, the guy seemed to wake up in a place he hadn't seen before. But did someone bring him here and sit him at the table while he was sleeping or unconscious? At least he reacted as if that's what happened. While he was looking around and trying to understand what was happening, Elsa just managed to come to him, and when he heard her voice, he felt better. Lucian doesn't understand what's going on. It's possible that she wanted to arrange such a meeting and asked her assistants to take him here. The girl said that she was glad to see him and really wanted this evening to resolve all misunderstandings. Elsa walked slowly towards him so he wouldn't get scared, then hugged him tenderly and whispered that she wanted to be by his side forever, whatever that meant. The Duke has no idea how to react to this, what it all means. She usually didn't behave like this with him. And then suddenly this, if it might seem that this was too much and he was not ready for it, then that's not all. Elsa started kissing him. After that, she even asked if he shared her feelings by any chance, as if hinting that he wanted to be a couple. Although these were not hints at all, these were direct words that drove him into a stupor. For him, it all feels like some kind of dream, especially since Elsa recently said that she is not attracted to young men. And he also admitted to himself that he finds it all very pleasant. Suddenly, there was a sharp change in the environment. He began to hear her screaming and asking if he could hear her. He can't open his eyes, and judging by the situation, we can conclude that he really dreamed that situation. The lady was informed that they had already tried to wake him up many times, but he would not wake up, no matter what they did. She has a feeling that he was injected with some kind of drug without her knowledge. For example, it could have been done by those who constantly lack power in this boarding school. Everyone went quiet, didn't know what to say. But the girl understood one thing. She would have to figure this out and do something so that this wouldn't happen again. Nyx, a drug named after the goddess of night, which when taken causes lethargy, it also increases sensitivity, causing pain to be experienced twice as intensely. Because of this, Dante often used the drug for various punishments. For example, when he was bored. A small amount is enough to break a person, but if you add a little more, it can lead to hallucinations, a constant feeling of pain, or even death. If the antidote is not administered quickly, he may die at any moment before the evening. She came to Dante with this request, but he says that the patient is too resistant and they cannot administer the antidote to him. Elsa didn't think long. She wasn't going to leave a man in such a state. She decided to drink the antidote herself. Then she returned to the Duke and began to kiss him, so that the effect would be softer, because doing nothing at all would have been wrong. The guy just opened his eyes. She made sure he was better and started demanding an explanation of who did it. No one even moved or blinked an eye at that moment. Elsa started to get angry because she felt that her words meant nothing to them now. To scare them off, she said that since everyone was silent, she had no choice but to charge everyone with attacking a nobleman, and in that case, everyone would be punished. Naturally, there was a person who was very scared, and immediately said that it was Victor. He personally saw how the gentleman went to the special student, and in the morning, for some reason, very persistently wanted to personally bring him food. At that time, no one knew why he was doing this, because usually he doesn't care how the students eat or whether they eat at all. But now everything fell into place. In the original story, no one touched Lucian the young duke only, the villain. Elsa treated him like a toy, so the girl thought that as long as she wasn't like that, everything would be fine, but apparently it happened because she showed kindness to the guy. Whatever the reason, now everything is clear. She has no other options left. She needs to get rid of Victor. Meanwhile, the next day came. All this time, the guy was resting on the bed. The girl personally checked that no one disturbed him. And when he woke up, he felt a terrible pain in his head and tried to remember what happened yesterday. Some people suddenly burst into his room. They started running at him. Lucian couldn't resist. And when he asked what they were doing there, no one answered him. Then they just ordered him to be quiet. Otherwise, they would make it so that he would not be able to make any sounds at all. There were too many of these people. They immobilized him, that it was impossible to resist. Then Victor came up to him. The guy remembers his words very well. He said that the Duke is Elsa's toy. Then they all forced him to drink something. It tasted terrible, but again, no one gave him the opportunity to resist. After that, he began to see as if he and Elsa were on a date, as she confessed her feelings to him and offered to be together. Now he realized that it was a hallucination. Because of that drug, he felt very ashamed because he doesn't know if he said anything out loud at that moment. And it is still unclear to him why he began to see her in hallucinations and not someone else. And even if her. Then why in this particular situation? In the meantime, she came to ask if he was feeling better and asked that if something were to bother him, he should definitely tell her about it. Everything is so mixed up in his thoughts now that he hears her words very poorly, as if against some background. And in the meantime, the girl says that they managed to inject him with an antidote. Otherwise, it is not a fact that he would be alive now. Because Nyx has side effects, and as soon as she said the name, he immediately knew what she was talking about. He feels very awkward because it turns out that she saved him again. Although she was absolutely not obliged to do so, he is pleased to remember that even during the running incident, when he was ready to die, she still protected him and proves every time that she is still on his side. Meanwhile, Elsa tells him that as Lord Lucian, the rightful heir, he must reclaim the Kalai Duchy. These words were so sincere that it even pulled him out of despair, and the guy felt much better. Since the girl had already saved him twice, he thought that at least he should say some words. He thanked her and admitted that it was very nice, to which she replied that he was her partner in escaping from this academy. So if he needed her help again, she would definitely come on. Now for him, the words that they are partners sound special. Elsa proved that she can be useful to him, and now he looks at her completely differently. Finally, he understood what she had been trying to explain to him all this time. Namely, that it was almost impossible to escape from here alone. But with her help, there was a chance. If they manage to escape, they will show the whole world this terrible place and tell what is happening there. And he also thought that if he gets his power back, he will become the one who will protect her. And of course, thank her for everything she has done for him. He is very interested in how quickly this will happen. Now he knows one thing for sure. There is no need to be afraid of her, and it is advisable to do everything she says. The long-awaited moment arrived. Lucian told her that he agreed to be partners and that he trusted her completely. And she waited for this for so long that she even thought that he had not yet recovered from the hallucinations and did not understand what he was agreeing to. It was very nice to see his eyes, which were filled with the desire to do something, to finally be free. Very soon, Elsa will prove to him that he made the right choice. Now she has even more motivation and a desire to take revenge on everyone who deserves it. The girl asked him to rest, and she herself would think about specific actions that could already be done with confidence. And she was also very touched by the moment when the guy said her full name, with her last name. He was simply the first one to do this in recent times. Elsa, the rejected daughter of the Litherian Viscounts. Elsa to everyone, nothing more than Dante's pathetic lover. No one in this world ever addressed her by her last name as if she were some kind of nameless creature. She doesn't want to admit it, but she's already gotten used to feeling like she's being called something. It's not for nothing that they say that if you constantly call a person someone, sooner or later, he'll start to believe it. Be that as it may, soon a just one will rise, for this one needs to try very hard and she is ready for this. When Elsa is freed from this original plot, all this will no longer have any meaning, and she will forget about this period of her life as a bad dreams. Rosenkreuz Hostel. This place looks very beautiful from the outside, as if there can be nothing bad here. Some people who don't know the truth would even like to spend a few days here. It is so beautiful from the outside. Here, only those students who behave well are rewarded with tea, but not everything is as wonderful as it seems. Behind this beautiful picture, there are many moments that only those who live here can see. Not everyone finds such tea parties a reward, for example. This girl, Bridget Martin, is once again brought a spoiled dessert and is required to eat it down to the last crumb. Bridget, she was the emotional trash can of Rosen Academy. Since the dorm was essentially a cage for the noble students, the idea of rank had to be broken down, and they had to be taught humility. A woman from a fallen house, abandoned by her husband and sent here, became easy prey for Victor. Everything is so terrible that existence gave relief to other students who were not targeted. Not only is Victor making fun of her here, but other girls are also making fun of her. And now they are offering to try some cakes that supposedly look very appetizing. The problem is that she is rarely given fresh food, and if she is given it, it looks something like this, so she doesn't even want to touch it. The girl is always surprised how it happens that others have exactly the same food. Fresh. But her food is as if it is deliberately spoiled every time. That's not all. Victor allowed all the servants and students to mock her and feel superior. So Rosen bought peace at the cost of Bridget. In the original story, Elsa did not pay attention to her. The new Elsa just cannot forget about this poor girl and not help her. She decided to attract her to her side, as well as the other main characters. So Elsa came to her and first introduced herself. Bridget was also important to the original story. She was a laughingstock from day one. And even after leaving the dorm, she still couldn't live a normal life because the habit of being a nobody remained. As soon as the girl appeared here, everyone around started discussing it, because she had never been here before. Some even thought that they did something wrong. Elsa calmly asked if anyone would mind if she joined them today, under the pretext that she wanted a change of scenery. The girl looked most of all in Bridget's direction, and she even decided to court her. She says her cup is empty and asks to let her pour some tea when suddenly it causes a strange situation. The girl started hinting that there was no tea for Bridget and the whole teapot was not designed for everyone. Elsa, of course, knew that everything here is more or less like this, but she didn't think that in life it would feel so humiliating. She put herself in Bridget's place and she felt very sad. It became outrageous for her that someone was not allowed to drink even a cup of tea. This bullying had already gone beyond all bounds. To bring a little justice here, Elsa began to complain that the tea tasted like swamp water and asked for a replacement, and finally broke the cup to add more work to the maid. The assistant apologized and explained that there had been a mistake, and also promised to bring everything new, although it was clear from her face that she was not happy to have such guests. In fact, the girl immediately felt that this particular maid was not as quiet as she seemed at first glance. Elsa saw her constantly going to Victor's office. It is possible that she could be one of his spies. Since the opportunity arose, Elsa thought, why not make the maid pay for what happened to Lucian? It seems that someone is going to answer for everything they did. Now the girl is going to have a blast and she has already started. First, she asked the girl if she planned to apologize and said that if she does something, she should do it right. She also allegedly accidentally stepped on her hand, so hard that the maid began to beg her to lift her leg. This wasn't enough for her. Since she had the opportunity, she thought, Why not ask to apologize to every girl she was rude to and laughed at? Naturally, she ordered an apology to Lady Bridget first, because she deserved it more than anyone else. Only after that did she let go of her leg, making sure that there was a mark on the maid's hands, and she even liked it. As soon as the assistant began to apologize to Bridget, at that moment, Victor approached them, who had no idea that now if he allowed himself too much, he would apologize in the same way as his spy. The man asks what brought Elsa to this tea party and hints that no one was counting on her here. It's no wonder that Victor showed up right away as soon as his spy was under intense pressure from Elsa. The girl asked if he meant that she shouldn't be there, to which he replied that she had completely misunderstood him. Although from his reaction it is very clear that he is clearly not happy to see her and wants to know how long she will be here. Elsa still doesn't believe that he tried to set her up by using Nyx on a special student to get rid of him. But that day, the girl came back early and ruined his whole plan. Now, out of the blue, she showed up at a tea party she'd never been to. His thoughts are very easy to read. She can see very well how he is gritting his teeth because he couldn't get rid of the Duke and pin all the blame on his colleague. Although his face completely gives him away, she continues to talk to him as if she doesn't understand anything and said that she just wanted to have a setting. Suddenly, she got tired of being nice to him. After all, this man doesn't deserve it. She calmly took a cup of her new tea, said that instead of refreshing water, she was given disgusting water, which might even be dangerous to drink, and poured the entire cup on his clothes, and also began to smile the way his services smile when they mock those who have been putting up with it for a long time. Victor doesn't understand what's going on. Why is she behaving like this? She was just smiling and already poured hot tea on him. He's lucky that the drink cooled down and didn't burn his whole body. At least, it's very fair. And the girl also told him that he had played himself out and gotten himself into something that he couldn't even imagine. Now he would answer for everything he had done. From that day on, she was no longer going to pretend as if she didn't notice anything. She began to openly show how she really felt about him. He looks very angry, but in fact he can't say anything to her. He just remains silent and looks at her with this strange look. The lady next to her felt a little awkward. She felt like all this was because of her, and she was afraid of what Victor would do to her now for this when Elsa left. She is afraid to look them in the eye, tries not to attract much attention to herself, and even breathes as quietly as possible next to them. If one could think that this would be the end of it, then the girl decided to see it through to the end. She specifically asked in front of everyone, does she really always have such scraps that it is impossible to even look at calmly? Bridget tensed up because now she needs to answer in such a way that she will not regret it later. And at the same time, she really wants to tell the whole truth in all the details. The lady wondered why Elsa had suddenly become like this. Before, she didn't care about her at all, and now she doesn't look like herself. At that moment, she thought that maybe this was her chance because she could continue to live the life she was living now. It's just impossible. She forgot what normal conditions are. The girl sees rats more often than people. If she doesn't worry and protect Victor now, this could be her last chance to escape this hell. The lady said that she forgot when she last ate normal food, and in general, there are problems with that. Sometimes she has to go hungry, especially if the gentleman is in a bad mood. Elsa warned in advance that if someone interrupted the lady, she would personally go with her to another room, and they would discuss everything together. After the girl told how she was treated here, Elsa hinted that Mr. Markey would certainly sort it out. She scared Victor so much that he almost fell off his feet. He thought that only he could complain to him, but she could do it without any problems. Before leaving, she also told him that maybe from this day on he would finally start worrying not about her, but about himself, because she heard that he had recently had serious troubles. She means the lost letter that the Marquis entrusted to him, and hints that no matter how hard he tries, he won't be able to add to her problems. And after the Marquis did not react to his complaint, supposedly it was Eliza who did it. These words sounded like a mockery, that this time too he would not succeed. The girl feels very well how she began to master the situation and completely control Victor. He is afraid to say an extra word to her, and after this situation, he is unlikely to try to come up with anything again. Finally, to completely ruin his mood, she said that he, as a person without any status, would never be able to handle someone like her, and also reminded that usually, as experience shows, she always won over him, and does not advise anyone to prove that it happens the other way around. Now the other students who were laughing earlier are sitting quietly, as if they had changed places with Lady Bridget. Elsa is very pleased to look at such an environment. She feels that she is able to restore order, and she is also very sorry that she did not start doing this earlier. The girl looked at each person around her, making it clear that there was no longer a place for such lawlessness here. After all this, since she had a dirty dress, she said that it needed to be changed, and for some reason it was the maid she had just punished who offered to help her. Does she really want to correct her behavior? Although it will still not be enough. Or maybe she just doesn't care and she is just doing her job. They went into some living room. The girl asked Bridget to wait for her here. She would change and come back right away. The lady has so many thoughts in her head now that she is completely confused. She kept hearing that Elsa is a villain, but in fact she turned out to be a very fair and kind person, at least towards her own. At first she was afraid to look into her eyes, but now she feels absolutely comfortable, as if she were talking to a good friend. The mind says that something is wrong here, but the heart tells me that everything is happening as it should. Bridget is most worried that as soon as Elsa leaves, Victor will take revenge on her for everything he went through during that conversation. She has a lot of thoughts mixed up in her head right now. At first, it seems to her that it's easier not to trust anyone, to resign herself and continue living in such conditions, and then hope appears. What if suddenly this really is her last chance and this won't happen again? All this time she felt so lonely, and now that a person has appeared who begins to protect her, it is too unusual for her. This is the first time someone has cared about her instead of standing silently by her side or laughing and supporting everyone else. She really wants to say a lot of things, but since the girl does not fully understand why Elsa is doing this, she chose to simply remain silent and wait until everything becomes a little clearer. While she waits, Elsa is already trying on a new dress that she just bought in an expensive store. She is a little uncomfortable with this maid touching her, but since she has decided that she will follow her and get to know her better, she has to endure it. Since childhood, she has had the ability when she looks at someone, she feels how this or that person really treats her. While there is an opportunity, even though the lady knows that Victor always speaks badly of her, she asked the maid if she had heard anything lately, to which she replied that nothing like that had happened, which means that she simply does not want to tell the truth, whatever the reason for this may be. Elsa will now be much more attentive to her. At least, she will not say things in front of her that Victor should never know. Most likely, this concerns some other maids, but she will deal with them a little later, after this. Suddenly, the girl thought it was too boring to leave here just like that without making a scandal. So she told that she knew that the maid was a spy, looked very closely into her eyes at that moment, and then asked if she really thought that she could betray her and leave untouched. And then the maid starts begging her for mercy, falls to her knees, and promises that this will never happen again. But that's not all. She's even ready to give her all the money she received from Victor, and if necessary, she'll quit her job. Elsa doesn't even know what to do with her because she doesn't need any help from her. The maid simply can't be useful to her. And then the girl thought that in order to keep her deal with Benedict a secret from Dante, she could use this assistant as an alibi. She started saying that she would help her leave this academy on her own 2 feet. She wouldn't get rid of her, but for that, she had to do something. The assistant must become a double agent. This is her only option. And now Elsa is sure that the lady simply cannot refuse. She will have to report to her every evening, starting from today. And if something urgent happens, she can come and tell about it at any time, even at night. Also, naturally, the same cold and humiliating attitude towards Lady Bridget should never be repeated. The girl is not going to spare her conditions. She is going to get the most out of this contract. It will be fair. The maid understood everything. She promised that she would try not to let her down and apologized again for everything she did. They tried to talk very quickly, and finally Elsa returns to Bridget, who has been waiting for a long time. She still sits modestly in one place, as if she hadn't even moved or breathed while she was gone. Elsa addresses the girl with great respect, specifically so that she gets used to the fact that this is how it should be. She also arranged in advance with the maid for you to bring them tea so that they could talk normally in a comfortable environment. Also, the lady saw for the first time how the maid who treated her the worst suddenly became polite, as if another person had entered into her. She brought chamomile tea and strawberry cake with a smile on her face because she had once heard that this was the combination she really liked. And after that, she changed for the poor preparation for the last tea party and promised that such a situation would never happen again. Bridget even answered that everything was fine. But in her eyes, you can see that the offense will remain with her forever, even if you apologize to her 1,000 times. The girl looks around. It is a very unusual atmosphere, so much so that she even looks at one point and is even afraid to look into someone's eyes. She can't believe that the girl did all this for her, and it also seems that she will have to pay her for it. But at what price? She can't even imagine. Moreover, She's even afraid to think about it because she believes that no one in this world is capable of doing anything good for nothing. She took a cup of tea, took a sip. It was the most delicious thing she had tasted in a long time. The girl didn't think that she could be impressed by ordinary tea, although this was expected because usually she was given something that was even unpleasant to look at. She couldn't remain silent for long. Bridget asked if she could ask the question that had been bothering her since the beginning of the day. What is needed from her for what she did lying down? Elsa understands that this question would sound sooner or later. She was ready for it, so she answered that she had an idea, and Bridget said that she was so grateful that she was willing to help in any way she could. This is exactly what the girl wanted to hear from her, but she tries not to show how happy she is that everything is working out for her. To be honest, she protected Bridget to use her because she helped the heroine in the original. Elsa still can't get used to the idea of helping people, so they will be useful to her no matter how wrong it sounds. Even so, if she wants to survive, she needs to do everything that is required and think only about herself. Even if this requires deceiving others, she is ready for this. The girl had prepared the necessary words in advance and began to explain that everything was very simple and she would definitely like it. She wants to become friends with her, even though she understands that from the outside, after everything that happened, it sounds very strange. Bridget is very clearly seen to be completely at a loss. She has no words, only emotions, and nothing else. Elsa also said that there is a reason for this. They are very similar. But the girl does not understand what exactly. The lady began to tell that in fact she felt lonely in Rosen, and understands perfectly well what it is like when everyone around you is against you. That's why she wants to be her friend, because people in similar situations understand each other's pain best. These were very special words, but something inside the girl tells her that now she needs to be very careful. She even asked how quickly Elsa wanted to hear the answer. After all, this is a proposal that needs to be thought over, especially in her case. The girl replied that she doesn't require an answer too quickly. After all, friendship can't be imposed. It should only be from the heart, so she has as much time as she needs. If it takes a month, she will wait a month. If a year, then a year. It's just a pity that these are just beautiful words, nothing more. But for now, she invites them to drink tea in peace without rushing anywhere, relaxing, enjoying the silence. Moreover, Bridget herself said that she had not drunk warm tea for a long time. Usually it was cold tea. And sometimes it was even like that they brought her the leftovers that other girls had left. It was so humiliating that now, drinking warm tea from a beautiful cup feels like some kind of luxury. It's very tasty. After taking a sip, she didn't even want to try dessert because there was enough delicious aromatic tea. And in the meantime, several days have passed since that moment, and so far everything is going exactly according to plan, as the girl imagined. Elsa began to organize tea parties more and more often, each time preparing a different type of tea, because she knows how much her new friend appreciates it. She tries very hard to earn her favor, and she also gradually weakens the mistrust that she had at the beginning. Watching her expression become happier every day, Elsa also felt a strange sense of relief, as if she had forgotten that she was doing this only for her own benefit. She didn't think so, but she really is interested in spending time with this person. They even found a lot of common topics. This is their next tea party. Bridget began by saying that several months have passed since her arrival at the academies, so she would like to know if there is any news about her family. She thinks that the girl might know about it, so she asks while she is here. She is interested in everything, letters, some news, maybe something else, and since she asks Elsa about this, it means that she is starting to open up. She also started talking about one person whom she has been missing madly since the first day they said goodbye. The girl realized that it must be the lady talking about her son. The Count did not divorce Bridget, even though she was from a modest family, and he sent her to this boarding school despite the fact that the girl begged him not to do it. The reason was that she gave birth to the family's legitimate heir. They had seen each other for so long that now, the girl would give everything she could for one meeting. Since they were now friends, Elsa promised to think about what could be done and asked not to worry about her too much. She will definitely try to make sure that the long-awaited meeting happens, which will perhaps give Bridget at least a small breath of air and make her feel better. According to the original story, Earl Martin and his heir will die in a car accident on the same day. And for the sake of her son, who will inherit the title of Earl at such a young age, Bridget will eventually leave this academy. Meanwhile, she apologizes for not believing her all this time because she simply had no idea what a good person she was. The girl replied that she understood her perfectly, and there was nothing wrong with that, especially since she believed that she was the only one here who should apologize for her late actions, which should have started much earlier. At that moment, sadness and guilt appeared in her. She swallowed her bad intentions, repeating the same words that the Duchess had told her in the original. Meanwhile, an assistant suddenly approached them. She had good news. She had just accepted the parcel. This is the same cherry pie that she ordered a couple of days ago, although she had already forgotten about it a little. This means that Benedict was finally able to get on Victor's trail. This is a sign that everything is going according to plan. Naturally, the girl was very happy. This was great news, which only gave her strength to finally get rid of the person who was constantly putting spokes in her wheels. She also received a letter, but to read it, she had to come to the office where there would be no one except her. It says, Lady Litherian. The target is disguised as a milk merchant once a month, at dawn, and the next meeting is to take place this Thursday. And since time will fly by, you need to start preparing right now, from this second. Elsa seems to think that since the information is from Benedict, it means that it is reliable and there is no doubt about it. At that moment, that same maid comes with a report, and in fact, she came very timely, like never before. The lady just has a new case for her. She wants the girl to create some evidence for her. And while they are discussing this, Victor, as usual, cannot figure out the situation without his favorite drinks. This is the only way he can feel more or less normal. What upsets him most is the fact that lately he has begun to feel absolutely powerless. The man understands that on the one hand, he can't sit in one place if he wants to change something. But on the other hand, if he screws up again, he will never forgive himself, and that will be too much. All his problems can be solved by some secret book. If he had it, everything would be different. Rosen's secret book, a book in which all the nobles studying at the Rosenkreuz are recorded. All the income disguised as donations is recorded in it. With this, he could reveal the truth about Rosen and completely destroy Dante, which he has been dreaming about for a long time. He would really like for Elsa to disappear from his life as well, and all these thoughts are already making his head split. Suddenly, unexpectedly, the maid came. She apologized that maybe she came at the wrong time. And then she said she had good news because she had managed to find out the location of the secret book. She told him this at the right time. But it remains that this is part of Elsa's plan, and the maid did not decide to take revenge and still help Victor more than her. Meanwhile, the girl looks out the window. She is calm because the trap is ready, and from today, Thursday, at about the same time someone is supposed to go to a meeting. But it's not entirely clear yet what it's about and what kind of trap it is. Suddenly, someone knocked on her door, and she reacted as if she was waiting for someone, and it didn't surprise her. The girl allowed to come in. The maid came to her and said that Mr. Victor had just left Rosen's. And this means that everything that the maid told him is still their plan. And even now, Elsa has everything under control. Everything is ready. It's time to catch the little rat, and she better get ready to go out. It's very interesting what will come out of this. She probably came up with something incredible. And it's also very funny to realize that Victor mistakenly thinks that he is one step ahead. Meanwhile, a man rode somewhere on a horse, stopped, and was met by some guy whose face was at first hard to see in the dark. This man says that he hopes that Victor has achieved results this time and got something, to which he replied that everything was so, and this time, he even brought some compelling evidence. He said that this is Rosen's secret book. With it, they supposedly have to destroy Rosen himself and, of course, the Marquise, and preferably also Elsa. He is even ready to do it with his own hands. As soon as he said her name, the girl was already behind him at that moment, called his name, and at that very second he trembled as if he saw a huge bear in front of him. Victor doesn't understand what's going on. He thought he misheard because he thought she simply couldn't be here. The man realized that he had said too much. He didn't even really resist, because that would only make things worse. The only thing he was interested in was how she got there, but naturally no one would tell him that. The girl calmly asked her assistants to take him away, and she said it in such a soft voice to make him even more angry. He resisted a little, but soon Victor was locked in the underground prison of the academy. And who could have thought that something like this could happen? It turns out that she somehow managed to take revenge on him. Now I wonder what she will do next. The girl is incredibly happy that she managed to sort things out with Victor. He couldn't even imagine that she would appear there. That expression on her face, it was worth it. Now she will have to tell Dante about this. After all, he should know about what is happening at the academy. Elsa decided not to delay this matter while she was in her office. She decided to open the box with everything she needed to send the letter. And at that moment, a variety of memories and emotions came flooding back to her. She didn't think that a small box could cause her so many sensations. The lady seemed to freeze in one place for a couple of minutes. It was so exciting for her. There were carefully dried rose petals pressed onto the paper to later fill it with scent. and also seals beautifully decorated with flowers. Elsa used this paper only for her beloved Dante. Even in such a small detail, you could feel the strong love of the villain for Dante. It's incredible. She loved him so much that a simple piece of paper could make even another person faint. However, it is sad to realize that all her life the villain wished for love that was not mutual, only for the heroine to take it away. It is impossible to imagine what she felt then. Then the girl thought that it didn't concern her anyway, but she was a little interested. Not much, but enough for her purposes. Trying not to think about it, she quickly wrote a letter saying that she caught Victor in a conspiracy, and it seemed to her that she would get an answer very quickly. After that, she asked the maid to deliver this letter to the Marquis. But I wonder if she really trusts her so much that she gives such an important letter, because the assistant can show it to Victor's. She told the lady that everything would be done, and just in case asked if anything else needed to be done. Now that the girl has sent the letter, she will finally see that smug face. Although in reality, if there was a chance, she would not want to see it. In any case, it all depends on how Dante answers. Meanwhile, the guy finally got his letter. The maid did everything as she promised, and that's already good news. Despite the fact that the letter arrived very late, he still decided to read it, and all because he found out who it was from. He has many other letters, but this one, he felt, was special, and for a long time he thought about what could be theirs. 5 minutes have passed and he still hasn't read anything, as if he's afraid or worried that there might be something bad there. Although personally, there's nothing to be afraid of now. He's the boss after all. Then he finally took the plunge, read everything very quickly, and after a couple of minutes made a decision that surprised even his assistant. The gentleman said that they were going to the boarding school immediately, although he usually never went anywhere so late. And he preferred to postpone even the most important matters to a time that was convenient for him, but then he suddenly decided to get ready so quickly. It's already morning outside and they're still on the road. The guy is still unhappy that they're driving too slowly, he asked, and imagined that it would be much faster. He is constantly indignant, asking how it is possible to drive so slowly, as if there is a reason why he is in such a hurry. The assistant explains that they are already going at full speed and it is simply impossible to go faster. Only now the guy dared to ask why they were going to Rosen, and surprisingly, the gentleman was not against telling everything. He says that as far as he understood, Elsa caught Victor, and he also said a slightly strange phrase. Supposedly, when she needs something, she immediately gets it, and it seems very funny to him, but the assistant still didn't understand any of it. Usually the gentleman smiles like that only in those cases, or rather, before someone inevitably dies, and this already makes the assistant wary. In that case, he asked, does this mean that when they arrive, he will first go to Elsa to say some words of gratitude? To which he replied that it was not necessary, since the girl had caught Victor for him, and first he wanted to crush him. Meanwhile, the girl barely slept because she was catching Victor, and now she feels terrible. Despite all this, she still needs to remember and not forget about the snapper, although there really isn't much time now. Although she usually never looked at shoes, today for some reason, she decided to choose exactly these shoes. The real villain really liked such high and bright heels, but for her, they were like shackles, constantly squeezing her legs. At this time, he is just sitting in his room thinking about his own things, not waiting for anyone, when suddenly he hears someone approaching him along the corridor. The girl lightly knocked on the door, calmly walked in, smiled, and said that she had something for him. The guy noticed that she looked a little tired today, asked what was wrong, and the girl got upset because she thought it wasn't that noticeable. He told her this the first minute they saw each other, and it didn't make her happy. She had to explain that last night she was busy getting Victor to sit down, since the Duke doesn't remember very well exactly. He asked if it was really the one who tried to poison him. She answered that everything was absolutely correct, the very same one. And she said again that Victor had been secretly communicating with a suspicious person, and she was sure that when the Marquis arrived, he would definitely talk to him properly. Elsa understands that the fact that the Marquis is returning to the academy for a while might scare him, but she immediately said that the guy doesn't have to worry, because the Marquis has a lot to do and he is unlikely to want to stay so long to go around everything and see him. Elsa herself really hopes for this, because with the Marquis nearby, it will complicate any escape plans. While they were talking, the girl didn't notice how he was eating the salad with gusto, and when she did, she was happy, but kept silent so as not to embarrass him. No matter how much she tried to calm him down, the Duke still understood that while the Marquis was here, he would have to be careful. Suddenly, she suggested that he take a walk, because she remembered that he had been sitting in this room for quite a long time and he needed fresh air. The girl sent the letter at dawn and was sure that Dante would not come to the academy. At least until tomorrow, while Lucian was here. He should stay in this room, and while there was an opportunity, it was better to let him take a walk. It would be a shame if she found out that the guy went to the academy right after reading the letter. There's a chance they could see each other right now on the street. And in the meantime, since they had decided to go for a walk, she thought it would be better to dress him in something that would help hide the fact that she was treating him better than she should. At the very least, she doesn't want the plan to fall apart at an unexpected moment. So she has to maintain the appearance that she feels the same way about this guy as Victor does. And in the meantime, it was already a little dark outside. They went out for a walk, and as soon as the guy breathed in the fresh air, he immediately felt much better. They walked near the fountain, admired the flowers, and enjoyed the silence, which has been so lacking lately. Elsa didn't think that communication with Lucian would begin to calm her heart. She walks now not only for him, but also because she wants it herself. Sometimes she certainly feels uneasy when she remembers that this person, according to the plot, is supposed to destroy her. Suddenly, he moved away somewhere to the side. She thought that he just wanted to breathe in the floral scent nearby. At first, it looked like that. He leaned over, sniffed the red rose, and then looked at it with a smile, as if he had come there for a reason. It was such a sincere smile that she wanted to smile back, but it was too late because he turned away. At that moment, she even felt ashamed that while she was complaining about heels that looked like shackles, he was wearing real shackles, and even in them he could smile so sincerely and enjoy the little things. Elsa asked him how he felt, because from the outside, it seemed like it was just unbearable and terribly offensive. To which he replied that no matter how he felt in them, there was nothing he could do because there were too many people watching for him to allow himself to walk around without them. And then he changed the subject, picked out a beautiful rose, and said that its color was exactly the same as her hair. It was so sweet that she couldn't even find the words to answer him. She just wanted to smile and look into his eyes. It was so nice to hear that her cheeks turned red. And the girl was also glad that it was dark outside now, and you couldn't see how embarrassed she was. When she was thinking what to tell him, a man whom they certainly did not expect to see approached them very quietly. The phrase sounded, "It seems like you are enjoying the moment." When suddenly, she realized that this voice was too familiar to her, and since she had not heard it lately, it meant that it was him. The guy asked if she missed him all this time, and now I smiled slightly, as if he understood that she definitely didn't miss him. Without waiting for an answer, he came up to her very abruptly, grabbed her by the waist, pulled her towards him, and started kissing her, without making sure that the girl didn't mind. Elsa didn't have time to realize what had happened. It was as if someone had blocked her movements, because there was no other way to explain it. Perhaps she was simply afraid to push him away or hint that it was unnecessary, especially considering the fact that they were not alone here. Then she finally asked him to stop. And after that, he seemed to deliberately throw the flower out of her hair, hinting that no one could give her such gifts and moments except him. He says that they haven't seen each other for a long time, as if he's waiting for her to say the same thing and start telling how bad she felt without him. But he didn't hear anything like that. She was silent, as if nothing had just happened, and as if they saw each other every day and there was nothing special about this meeting. Only now did the Duke realize that this was apparently the same Marquis Dante de Savi Oppenheimer that she had told him about. The guy really acts like they are together, although he didn't even ask if she had fallen out of love with him during this time and sent the letter only for business, and not to see him. The Duke has no idea what to do now. He is standing next to them, and now he just wants to fall through the ground or turn back time to prevent this situation. Suddenly, the Marquis begins to say that it seems that, first of all, he should get rid of someone who is preventing him from talking to his beloved. He is hinting at the Duke. After that, he snapped his fingers. Some people appeared near them, started grabbing the guy by the hands and waiting for an order. Lucian doesn't understand what's going on. He didn't even say anything bad to be treated like that. And he is also offended that the girl at this moment does not say anything and does not try to help him. Or maybe she just understands that it will be dangerous for them. And perhaps she will try to do something later, as soon as the opportunity arises. The guy started asking to be let go because he wasn't going to hurt anyone, he wasn't going to insult anyone, etc. Moreover, it is so hard to move in these shackles, but no one understands this, because they have clearly never had anything like this on their feet. Then he realized that it was better not to resist with such people. The less noise he made, perhaps the easier it would be to let him go later, and he would not be under surveillance. It remains to be hoped that he will simply be taken to some room so that he does not interfere. And in the meantime, the girl thought that in such a situation she should not feel guilty. But maybe it is because she has recently started to spend too much time with this man and has become attached to him. Left alone with the Marquis, she has a variety of emotions inside her, but she knows one thing for sure. She needs to be more careful with him. Because among the three main characters obsessed with the heroine, the most dangerous and unpredictable was Dante. Elsa had no idea what caused this sudden mood swing. He seemed to have no qualms about doing anything to her. The guy is not constant by nature. He has always been like this. The moment he loses interest, he can get rid of her just like others, and if she wants to survive and escape, then she will have to defend her status in this academy to the last. To get out of this situation and not add extra problems to yourself, you will have to stick to the plan and maintain Dante's interest. To begin with, she began to talk about the Duke, namely that he is a very important student. But for the Marquis, he is nothing more than a valuable source of income. If the Duke escapes and exposes their academy, it is clear that his very existence could be in danger. She also said that they have a lot of problems, for example, and other former students could also rebel, and it is important to remember this. So far, the power of the Mark has kept everything under control, but the Duke is quite capable of equaling him in influence, and they both know it. Perhaps that is why the Marquis is so rude to him, and in the meantime, the girl explains that she had a good reason for trying to maintain good relations with him, thanks to which the young Duke trusts her. She also emphasized that it was very expensive for her, and now they are like brother and sister, so if it is convenient for the Marquis, this can be used. The girl tries to say everything so that he thinks that she is trying to please him and be useful. But he doesn't even suspect that her flawless plan is much more cunning than he can imagine, and that all these words are just a cover. At that moment, it seemed to him that she was saying all this on purpose to calm him down. The guy had encountered such people more than once and was able to discern the truth the first time. Even if these words seemed strange to him, it does not mean that the girl is giving up, and soon he will understand that she is much smarter than he could have imagined. She began to invent a non-existent legend, which she had thought up in advance just for such a case, if suddenly he flatly refused to believe her. At the same time, she smiles and makes such a face as if she is not at all worried and not afraid that he will reveal her secret. And she also told him that she had a plan against the Duke, and that she was communicating so well with him in order to benefit from it later. Surprisingly, he didn't even ask for any proof, any detailed information. He immediately said that he understood everything and that he was very glad that she turned out to be so smart and didn't forget who she should serve. After that, he started hinting to her that, since they hadn't seen each other for a long time, it would be nice to arrange a date and spend time together. Elsa calmed down, because it seems that now he trusts her and no longer suspects anything, and that's the main thing. This means that she is doing everything right, and as long as he is here so that he does not have any questions, she agrees to everything he offers, even if she has to spend the evening with him. Since it was already late, the girl said that she needed to have dinner, change clothes, take a bath, but he suddenly didn't even let her leave the room. And after that, he asked where she was going without him, and whether, after he had arrived after so much time, she really wanted to have dinner and take a bath separately. After hinting that he would like to do everything together, naturally she could not refuse him, although she would really like to. Elsa starts to think what to answer him now, because too much can depend on her words. And in general, it is better not to spoil his mood at night. She really didn't want this, but still, she had to apologize for this situation and say that of course tonight she was completely at his disposal. And she also said that she was just shy, and thought that after a hard journey he wouldn't want to spend time actively. Words cannot express how hard it was for her to just say these words, because just one look from him was so disgusting that if it weren't for his power, she would have already hit him and said everything she thought. Since she has already entered the role, the performance continues, and she asks what, since she dared to upset him. Then she will try to do everything possible to atone for her guilt and make sure that her beloved is satisfied.